Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Be Open and Authentic with Rohit. Today we have Adam Crosthwaite with us, who is an Australian professional cricket player and also the coach for Seattle Thunderbolts cricket team in minor league. If you haven't heard about minor league, you will hear about it soon. So today we'll be talking about cricket and the professional journey of Adam Crosthwaite and in Australia, and and learn more about the process that he has been through, and also learn a little bit dive a little bit deeper into the skills, strategy, and mindset required to be a successful cricket player, and the things that we can learn from cricket and apply to everyday life, so that we can be successful there as well, right? So yeah, firstly, thank you, Adam, for being on the show with me and being open to talk about your journey and share your knowledge. I know this is a busy season. Thank you for your time and help.
Mate, thank you. It's it's always a pleasure to have a chat, and like you, I'm a cricket lover, and more than happy to talk cricket all day and every day. So let's get it going.
Same here. Awesome. Let's get started. So do you wanna share a little bit about your professional cricket journey so far, and how it has been evolving still?
Yeah, so I guess I've been involved some way or another in professional cricket in Australia for probably the last 20 years, probably since I was a 17-year-old, so gives away my age. So, I sort of started with all the underage teams within Victoria, which is my home state in Australia. So started there, made my way luckily into the Australian under-19 and under-19s, played 3 years with the Australian under-19s, which was able to play in 2 World Cups. One World Cup which in 2002, which we won, which was captained by Cameron White. Very good team. Most of the guys went on to play for Australia, and if not, definitely their states. So I think there's probably only 1 or 2 guys that never played first-class cricket in that group. Yep. And then the second World Cup, we went to Bangladesh, and we got done. We didn't play all that well, but that one was captained by Tim Paine. So from there, I was offered a state contract with Victoria and played there for 6 or 7 seasons until I got into a bit of a battle with Matthew Wade, both wicketkeepers and both wicketkeepers bats, and I was playing the short form games as the keeper. He was playing the long form game as the keeper. We duked it out. We both played in the other forms as batsmen. Mm-hmm. And then, we both wanted to play cricket for Australia, so someone had to move, and that was me. And I moved to Sydney. Mm-hmm. Didn't quite crack the New South Wales team, but got a contract in South Australia. So travelled from Melbourne to Sydney and then over to Adelaide to play first-class cricket for South Australia, and that just coincided at the start of the Big Bash. So played the first year of the Big Bash with the Adelaide Strikers. Mm-hmm. Played that for about 18 months, was in South Australia, and then went back to Sydney, back to New South Wales, and was a part of the Sydney Sixers Academy and Sydney Sixers squad, but never played a game for the Sixers. Mm-hmm. Then eventually that sort of pushed me into my sort of early 30s, and I then sort of transitioned out of trying to play first-class cricket and more into a coaching, mentoring role with guys in Sydney. And then over the last 3 seasons, I've been back in my native Victoria, where I've been playing cricket for St Kilda and working with the Victorian first-class teams, and even last year did a little bit of work with the Melbourne Stars. So, and then, as you say, where I am right now, and that's sitting in Seattle, Washington. Head coach of the Seattle Thunderbolts, as we're fighting for the minor league, and we've got the last weekend of our regular season this weekend, where we need to win 2 games to make the playoffs. So that's my journey, and that sort of sits me here at the computer screen with you today.
Sure, yeah. I mean, that's great. I mean, that's such a long, cricketing career and journey, and going all over the place, right? So I want to, touch multiple aspects here, Adam. And by the way, firstly, good luck for the weekend games for Seattle Thunderbirds. We are all cheering for you guys, so I'm sure you got it. Cool. Yeah. Again, coming back to the journey that you mentioned so far, right? So first, let's talk a little bit about the structure, right? In Australia, like how does it work? So is it club cricket, which is Victoria, New South Wales and other teams, and then go to the first class, and then you make it to the international team or not? Is that how it works, or how is it in Australia?
Yeah. So I guess our club system, or what we call Premier Cricket, in all the different states. So we have 6 states that play in the Sheffield Shield. And within those states, you have your club team. So my club team is St Kilda Cricket Club, which is our premier team. So there's 18 premier teams in Victoria, which is one of our biggest states. 18 premier teams, and then from that premier competition, you then go up to your Victorian second 11 and then Victorian first class. So our first class teams are our states. So Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland,
Gotcha.
WA, Tassie and South Australia. So we have the 6 first class teams. And then we also have our franchise model, which is our Big Bash, which is Melbourne, Sydney, and they're based around the cities. So, and we've got 8 teams, with Sydney and Melbourne both having 2 teams. So that's where the extra 2 teams come in. So, so that's the structure within Australia. And then obviously, you play well in first class cricket, and you put the baggy green on, which is every Australian cricketer's dream growing up to play Test cricket for Australia.
Yeah, right. So how hard is it to make it? I'm sure it is pretty hard, but what does it take to make into the Victoria club, or just to be in general, right? Because just to get a sense of it, because at what age you got started, or like what age you started, and how long did it take for you to get into the club?
Yeah, so I was pretty lucky, and I'm the first to admit that I was put into squads before I was ready. I was a wicket keeper. A wicket keeper was probably was a lot further along than what my batting was as a kid. I was a good junior batsman, but a senior first class batsman, I probably wasn't ready. But so I was pushed through the system. Australian under-19 wicket keeper for 2 or 3 years. Just got pushed into the first class scene. I think I had a professional contract really before I'd played first grade cricket at my club, which it doesn't normally happen like that. Normally you have to have played a few seasons and done pretty well, but I guess I was identified at a young age to come through. So and played. It was in the Victorian squad for as a young kid, and got a few opportunities. I just, for me, that was life. That was cricket. So I had to balance my study with being a professional cricketer. So I was still at high school when I signed my first contract. So that balance was difficult. But I guess my cricket became pretty elite at a pretty young age. I was in these squads playing with and training with some of my idols, including Darren Berry was a wicketkeeper who was before me at Victoria. Was one of Australia's best ever glovemen. But was able to walk into a team that had Brad Hodge, Shane Warne, Matthew Elliott, some guys who I'd grown up who played for Australia, and watching these guys and idolising these guys that was lucky enough to play in an era of Victorian cricket that was very, very strong with a lot of our guys going on and playing for Australia.
Wow, yeah. I mean, it's glad that you got into the you got the contract in the early stages, and such a great exposure, right? Playing with all these idols. I think that's a dream come true for a 17-year-old and who is still in high school. Wow.
Yeah. It was interesting. You go to training and you're rubbing shoulders with Shane Warne, and he's one of your teammates, and you got to go back to maths class in the morning. So it was a bit bizarre.
I know, yeah. So how was it? Because obviously sharing, if it was me or probably someone else, I don't think I'll be focusing more on, I should have focused more on studies though, if I'm just getting opportunity to, play with idols like, Shane Warne or any of that sort, right? I would just skip the school and I would have played cricket all the way, all day. So what is it like for you?
Yeah, look, it was definitely like that. I was my studies were still very important, but at the same time I was training to be an elite cricketer. So I think I was lucky because I was exposed very young, but at the same time that just became a natural instinct of what my cricket was, and I think that's probably allowed me to play cricket at a very high level for the past 20 years. I'm still playing as much as I am coaching now, but I'm still playing in Victoria at a very high level in Premier Cricket and involved with the first class system there as well. So, I just think it's the grounding that you get, and as a kid, as a young adult, I think it's those foundation years where you learn how to train, you learn what cricket's about and how hard you need to train, and then you see you can very much see that the people that train hard and train well versus the people who might have talent but don't train. And what I've seen over the years is it's the hard workers. The hard workers are the ones that make it, and the elite players are the hard workers who are also the talented, that have that extra talent. But I've seen many talented people be outworked and outworked by other players who probably aren't skillful or as good, but have a better career because they're a hard worker on the training track and in the film room.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, this is one of the, probably one of the lessons that we can take away. It is. I think it's applied. It's in real. That's something that we can see in our day-to-day lives, right? It's not just who is smart or who is talented. It's also how much time and effort that you put in to make it to whatever the league that you want to get into, right? And how much time do you used to spend with Victoria, like when you're being trained as elite professional, and even after high school, like how much time does normally people put in every day to train and to work to improve the skill set?
So I think it's when you're on contract, you don't have your weekends because your weekends are almost your matches. The matches are usually on the weekend, so it becomes a 24/7 type of role where you're looking after your body, you're watching what you eat, you're making sure that your skills are ready. I think you're doing something probably physically, 4 to 5 hours a day, whether that be 2 or 3 sessions. And then the rest of the day, I call it another probably 4 to 5 hours where you're looking after your body, whether that be massage, whether that be recovery, whether that be nutrition and things like that. But it becomes a lifestyle. And I think it's the players that can understand that lifestyle quickest, that understand that to have longevity in the sport and to be around for a long time, that you need to tick these boxes. You need to have the best approach. Because it was funny, I was speaking to Shadley, who plays with us at Seattle, who's a South African professional himself, and we were talking about today, and he told me a really interesting story, which isn't my story, but it is his, but it rings true. When he first got his contract in South Africa, he went in and spoke to the coach, and the coach was, okay, what are you going to do? And all young players do this, and I'm sure I did this. You walk in and you say, I want to be the fastest, I want to be the quickest, I want to be the fittest, I want to be the best. And you get hit between the eyes when the coach turns around and says, yeah, but everybody here in this squad of 20 or 30 players says the exact same thing.
Sure.
So what's going to separate you from the rest? And it is a question that you've got to answer as a young player, is what's going to make you different. Because every single person in this squad and every single person who's a professional cricketer wants to be the fittest, wants to be the strongest, wants to be the fastest, wants to hit the best cover drive.
Yep.
That's the difference, is in the attitude of how to get better and what you're willing to do to get better, rather than just wanting to be the best.
Yeah.
And I think that's the the mental shift that changes the difference between the really good, the good, and the guys who think they're good.
Wow. Yeah. I think that's a bit of a lesson, right? You know, okay, you want to be the best. Okay, that's great because everyone want to be the same around you. But what sets you apart?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So and you know, taking that story, right? What do you think, you know, that set you apart in the early days of career, right? Because, you know, you got your contract signed, you know, at the age of 17. So what was your mindset back then, and what was your strength, or, you know, what was your what do you think was it?
Yeah, look, I think my wicket keeping was always very good. It was always sort of seemed to be at an elite level, probably as a young kid, and it was something that I prided myself on. I always wanted to be the best wicket keeper in Australia.
Yes.
At times, I think I was. Other times, well, the reason I didn't get picked when I was young is my batting just wasn't at first class level, yet alone test level at a young age. But that becomes the difference between setting yourself apart. Like, I was obsessed about becoming the best and about becoming that next guy. Adam Gilchrist was the wicket keeper who was keeping at the time. So I was obsessed to be the next Adam Gilchrist.
Wow.
But the exact story I just told is that there was also 6 other state wicket keepers that were thinking and wanting the exact same thing. And a lot of it was hard work. And I think I did work hard. My batting came along and I turned myself into a first-class batter probably in my early to mid-20s. If I look back on it, it would have been much beneficial for me to. I played when I was young as well. Played when I was very young. For me, and I think this is an issue that we have in Australian cricket, is we push the young kids too early.
Yep.
Me personally, at the time, I wanted to play. 100% wanted to play. If I was managing myself back then, I probably would have rather play when I was a little bit
later,
older, when I was actually good enough to play, rather than had the potential to be good enough to play.
Sure.
So I think that I look back on my career, that's very much something that happened. I think I played because I was possibly going to be good in the future. I didn't play when I think I just played a little bit too early for my liking. Looking back and being critical in my own game. I thought I was good enough, but at the time with my batting I wasn't, and I started slow.
Yep.
And then when my batting got good, I then ended up in a fight, then had to leave.
Sure.
And then once I left, went to Sydney, went to Adelaide. You're behind the 8 ball a little bit, and you're fighting for your position.
Yeah.
But so that's
there are a couple of things here, right? Thanks for sharing this too, right? So if you are in trade and if you're being put in that position, and when you're competing, or when you are playing with idols like Shane Warne, or so many elite players, obviously I think the confidence takes it too, right? And I think and the pressure mounts up as well. So how did you handle it?
Yeah, look, it was awesome. Like, it was so much fun. Like, I look back on it, and the fact that not a lot of people in the world got to wicket keep to Shane Warne, and I was lucky enough to do it for sort of 3 or 4 years, and he was amazing. That's something that I'll live with forever. And he actually he presented me my Victorian hat, which was which is a big thing. And it's so playing with these guys, and not just him. Like, we had David Hussey, Cameron White, Andrew McDonald, Brad Hodge was one of my favourite cricketers of all time. A lot of our guys, and like I came through with Peter Siddle and James Pattinson, and Aaron Finch was a little grommet for a year below me, who was a great mate of mine, and who's turned into an amazing cricketer. Cameron White, captain Australia. So it's the team and the group that we came through with was a really incredible sight. And like, I think when you're in that bubble and you're working hard together, sometimes the pressure does get to you. But other times when you're in a group and you have a common goal that you're working towards, sometimes you can bypass the pressure, because again, a lot of pressure is outside noise. And when you're when you're focused and ready to play and ready to compete, and when your sole objective is to win the game, and you're in there with your brothers and your teammates, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I think when we lose sight of the game and when we get outside our body and we think, what are people saying about me? What are people thinking about me? That's where the pressure builds up. And pressure, when you're in a group that you trust and that they trust you and you trust them, the pressure goes. And that's why you see good teams and the best teams are the ones that can absorb the most so-called pressure, because they've got a really good culture, and I think we had that at Victoria for quite a few years.
That's really great to hear, and this also emphasizes the importance of being surrounded by the like-minded people or a group that helps you push forward, without letting the pressure build on you and makes you weak or makes you you won't be able to give so much, of your best if you're under pressure, right? But yeah, glad you had that support. But if you also don't mind me asking, right? When you say so many, elite players, I would at least, I would just love to get an autograph with them. I would do anything, right? But having played with those people, right, and not making it to the Australian cricket team, and just curious to understand your thought process. What do you think was the reason that you didn't make it to the top, and how do you feel about it? Sometimes if I think about it now, I will because all it takes is just one game or once a chance to just make a shift in career or in life. So
yeah, 100%. I think one of the things that I guess I did was make a pretty poor career move, because in all of Australia you've only got 7 positions when you're a wicketkeeper. So you've got one position that you all want, and then you've got 6 state teams. So there's not many jobs in Australia for wicketkeepers. So you've got to be there at the right time, and you've got to be performing at the right time. I came through with a group of wicketkeepers who are very good. Tim Paine was very good. Peter Neville played a lot for Australia. Matthew Wade played for Australia. Chris Hartley was there. Didn't play for Australia, but was very good. Luke Ronke played for Australia, then went on to play for New Zealand. They were sort of the guys around my age that were vying for positions. Graham Manu was keeping wickets for South Australia. He's a little bit older, so he got an opportunity. Brad Haddon took over from Adam Gilchrist, so Haddon was there. So it was a very hot topic to be the next wicketkeeper. And I think when I was trying to play for Australia, when I was duking it out with Matthew Wade, and we were both playing for Victoria, and Victoria weren't making a decision, and I ended up leaving, which gave Matthew a full run at Victorian state cricket, and then he went on to play for Australia. So sometimes in sport, that's just the way it goes. And look, I think I had a great career, and I'm still in cricket and loved it. Would I have loved to have played for Australia? Hell yes, 100%. I think it was, sometimes it comes down to people's opinions and selectors going one way, and then as the athlete you have to choose a different direction, which is what I did. I have to leave and go to New South Wales, and I was probably a little bit too late, because Peter Neville got himself in there and was wicket-keeping for them. And like, Peter Neville's a Victorian player who grew up in the same setup as myself, and he moved to New South Wales and had played 100 first-class games, so did amazingly well. And then that took me over to Adelaide, trying to chase that setup where I was going to be in a team for long enough to make runs and put my hand up. And for me, in Adelaide, they decided the year that I played in South Australia, we didn't have a great team, so South Australian Cricket decided that they would go with the youth and invest in a young kid named Alex Carey, who is now playing for Australia. So you miss it, you get close, but at the same time, it's a lot of it's hard work, a lot of it's luck. And I was lucky enough to play in the Prime Minister's 11 game, played 81 day games and 40 Shield games, and had a decent career as a wicketkeeper. But never quite got there with the baggy green.
Sure, but yeah, so but still, right? I mean, you had such a wonderful career, maybe, and the other problem is there are only so many opportunities, and it also take a bit of luck or many other factors that are beyond our control, right? Which is which are really challenging, and also it's also about how you take it, right? You can feel bad about it at the same time, or you can just look at the bright side and move on with other opportunities, right? And it also, so this also comes to the point of mindset, right? And which is something that we need a lot of it in cricket. So. And coming to mindset part, so there are multiple aspects to it, but one thing that I want to focus on or ask about is the Australian cricketer mindset, right? Because when I was a kid, I'm super amazed to see Australians being so aggressive and passionate in the cricket field. So is it like how do you how are you trained, because and that's not usual in India. I think Virat Kohli changed the game a little bit for us, but still that wasn't the case in India at all. But I heard in some of the Brett Lee's interviews that that's the mindset that you build when you are in cricket, early stage in the clubs and things like that. But how is it for you, and how do you navigate this space, or how do you build that mindset?
Yeah, look, I think growing up in Australia, that is almost the Australian way, and they talk about it, it's tough and it's hard and it's competitive. Look, we come from a lot of physical sports in Australia. We come from Australian rules football and rugby and team, like where guys are hitting each other hard. So a lot of players have that physical built up tension that they have, and a lot of those best athletes in the growing up, they're good footballers, are also our best cricketers. So when they decide to play cricket, it's almost this built-in physical presence that they have on the ground. And I agree. I think Virat Kohli, from an Indian standpoint, plays very much like an Australian, and I think that's why Australians love him so much. Is because he plays like we do, and we see that. And we see that around, and those aggressive guys that you ask any Australian, if do you love Virat Kohli? Yes. Do you love Ben Stokes? Yes. Do you love Brendan McCullum? Yes. They all play with that type of chest out, strong. You're in a fight. And I think that's the way that we just grew up, and it's a very different cultural mix to, as you said, the way that the cricket's played generally in India. I think a lot of the skill players in India are incredible, and you look at the way the Sri Lankans bat, and you look at the way that the English play. The English, I think, were verbally beaten up by the Australians for years and years, and now it doesn't happen because it's there's a bit of a shift in the way that they play as well. But I think as an Australian, whether it be right or wrong or good or bad, I don't know. I think there's times where the Australian cricket team oversteps the line. I think we saw with what happened in Cape Town and what happened in South Africa with the guys getting in trouble because they were so ultra focused on winning that they sort of lost their mind a little bit. But it's also
the pros and cons of it.
That is something that's been built into players since we were 8 years old. Not, and we don't condone what happened, but it's that sole focused on winning and sole focused on competing. That's where the mindset goes, and that's where, as I said, be it right or wrong, sometimes our guys overstep the mark when they sledge and they say things and they get in trouble. It's very interesting. It's what's very interesting as well. It's interesting coming over here to the US and playing in a team with a lot of Indians, some Sri Lankans, some South Africans, an Aussie. When you mix the cultures together, you see that the great game of cricket is played so differently in each continent, in each country. It's a very interesting way in which we're exploring in American cricket at the moment. It's like what is American cricket? Because it's a melting pot of cultures that have all learned to play cricket a different way, and it's a really interesting
exactly right. I think it's going to be super interesting, and also I'm curious to see how American cricket evolves over time with a mix of such a great culture, mindset and passion that people come with, right? So that's interesting to observe. But yeah, coming back to this mindset part in Australia. So it's very incredible that starting, you just grew up with it, right? Which means that you are passionate all the time in most of the things you do. So which is another reason I think that led to the Australian cricket team's success for so long, right? Because, if you compare, right, you have like 6 states, we have so many states in India and so many players, but it took a while for, Indian cricket team to step up and start competing like Aussies do. And it took so much for India to get, where we are now. But the fact that, I think that's one thing that we can take away from Aussies, right? For life in general too, you have to go chest out, have to be passionate. Obviously we have to, understand, draw the line of, overboarding, in certain things. But yeah, I think, that's one takeaway, being passionate, being just, just going all in and living the life, right? The same way. So is it also the same, in everything that you do? I mean, obviously the mindset, you do take that mindset, outside of cricket, and how is it?
Yeah, I think it is, and it's, as I said, I've been built since I was a teenager to be an elite cricketer, so that was sort of what I've known. And I think if you ask my family, I'm very competitive when it comes to the game of Monopoly or table tennis out the backyard with my brother, like whatever it is, it's just something that's built in. We love to compete, and I think that's where it comes from. That's very much an Aussie thing, and I think the game of cricket is a skillful game, but there is so much that goes into it, that competitive drive. Cricket's easy when you're a better player than the opposition. Cricket's hard when the opposition are a better player than you. But I think what drives Australian cricketers is how do we win even if they're better than us? And I think that's a key concept that a lot of people do, because I've played in teams and I've played with people that they're a better team than us, and but they should beat us. It's like that doesn't stand the test. With that hurts me. I don't care if I was to line up tomorrow against the Australian cricket team, I would still be out there figuring out how to win. And I think that there's that type of mentality that is sort of ingrained in a lot of what the guys do, and that's where it becomes so hardworking, elite culture that has been in Australian cricket for probably 30, 40 years now.
So wow, that's great, right? Like, how do you, okay, it's sure, if you want to play with kid and win against kid in regular day-to-day, life, you can, you can win in a day, but how can you, beat a person in a game or somewhere else, who is better than you? But what, when it comes to cricket and when it comes to the competitive nature of this, right? Like, how do you think we can strategize and beat the opposition, even though if they're so good at it? And for example, if you take a cricket of competing against Australian team, and I know you still want, and I'm sure you'll figure out a ways to beat those with the cricket team, but how do you think you will get started on it? What is the mindset and what is the strategy that you'll go with?
Yeah, and a lot of this comes back to, I guess, just making sure that your game plan is based around your skills, and the best skills that you do and the best way that you can play. In Australia, as much as we are competitive and we compete against the opposition, a lot of it is there's almost sometimes this fake, false, stick your chest out, we're bigger and better than these guys. Sometimes it's almost fake it until you make it type of feeling around. It's a hard one because you have to worry about yourself before anything else. But then once you have yourself under control, that's when you take your mindset goes to the opposition. And that's one thing that I think Australian cricketers do very well is David Warner, and I say this often, David Warner is the best player in the world because he thinks he's the best player in the world. Glenn Maxwell is the best player in the world because he thinks he's the best player in the world. Virat Kohli is the best player in the world because Virat thinks he's the best player. Like, these guys at the elite level, they all have this amazing ability to have confidence in themselves. And if you don't have that, when you play against somebody like that, they will see that you don't have it, and then they will eliminate that. And they will make sure that they find your weak point. So that's why when you have two, and it's not even an alpha male thing or an alpha thing, it's like Kane Williamson, I don't think is an alpha male outwardly over the top type of guy, but I'm sure he thinks he's the best player in the world, and I think he probably is. Joe Root the same. Like, the way they play doesn't need to be that Australian chest out way that you have to be, but they're inside their mind, they would be going in knowing and thinking that they're the best player in the world. And that's I think the difference between a great player and a very good player, is that these guys have the ultimate confidence. I was lucky enough to come through the system with Aaron Finch, who's now gone on to captain World Cups and to captain Australia, to play with Glenn Maxwell. Two guys that, if you went back to their formative years, every single person tried to change the way they play. But both of those guys, in Finch and Maxwell, stuck to what they knew. They knew they were going to be the best player in the world. They knew they were going to they had something special. If those two listened to everybody else, they would never have become what Aaron Finch and Glenn Maxwell are today.
Sure.
And I think that's a huge lesson that I look at, and I think amazing mental strength from these guys to be able to know what they do well, to back themselves in, and to keep getting better and working on their own game, rather than conforming back to get your elbow up and put your foot to the ball, is what we're all taught, right? And it's a big thing. Like, cricket and the game of cricket is a skill-based game, but the biggest skill is your mental strength, and that's where the best players in the world have it over the guys who are a middle-ranked player. And I think that's a huge lesson.
Wow, that's such a great insight. Thanks for sharing this, Adam. So, I mean, the takeaway here is, you need to, believe in yourself, and it's not easy, right? Because when you are particularly, competing against, best of the best, and then if you have to believe that, you are good at it, it takes a lot of mindset, and obviously skill plays a role. But if you don't believe in yourself, or, if you're not backing up yourself, that's when the, people pierce through, your career in a way, I guess. So,
I think if you take that one step further, if you look at the best team in the world, whatever time of that is, whether it be the Indian cricket team, whether it be the English cricket team, whether it be all like the Australian team, New Zealand Test champions, if you looked at every team that was the best in the world, I could almost guarantee you that 11 of those players that are in that team all thought that they were the most important player in that game. There was no passengers in those teams. Like, they all think that they're going to make an impact in the match. They all understand when it's their opportunity to make an impact, and it's their time to take the game on, and they want that. They want that. Like, if you're batting at 6, you want the top order to fail. There's a part of you that wants the top order to fail to make sure that you get a bat. You want the ball in your hand. Like Glenn McGrath, Brett Lee, Jason Gillespie, Shane Warne, when we had that group, every single one of them thought they were going to take every single wicket. And that it was that mindset of a champion team that within a cricket world, the best teams have 11 guys that think they're the best player. So just like it's an individual mindset, it's also a team mindset.
Wow, sure. So, that's when you can believe as a team and win as a team. I think this is such a great lesson that it's it's not just helpful within a game of cricket or any sport, but it's also for how we work in IT or everything that we do as a team, right? Every team member should understand they are the best and they have a role to play, and they also should believe that we can collectively win as a team, and they also want to win as a team. It's not that winning for the sake of winning. They have to have the passion of winning as a team.
Yeah.
Wow, such a
and this is the thing, these lessons within cricket which is a game we all love, they directly correlate within the business world, within any community group that you're in, that it's a cricket team is no good when people are looking over their shoulder worried about what the other guy's saying. Just like a business is no good when people are trying to knife each other in the back. They're trying to look for a different promotion. It's never a good environment that's going to be a long-term success. Long-term success in team cultures is when everybody's pushing towards an ultimate goal. And that's where egos play a big part. Ego, you have to be able to check your ego for the betterment of the team. And whether that be it business, be it your family, be it your friends, be it cricket, if you can understand that you need to be the best, but you also trust in the people you're with to be the best, then you can do some amazing things. But if you're looking over your shoulder worried about what James is doing that way and what Robert's doing there and Emily's doing in the back, and you don't trust people and you don't work towards a common goal, team sport and team culture just doesn't work.
Exactly, right? Yeah, I second that, and I think these are some of the learnings that I'll cautiously embed into my life, because in a way, if you think about it, everyone thinks that okay, these are pretty basic rules, but ingraining them into everyday life is such a typical task, and it's not an easy one to adapt in day-to-day life as well. I think these are the things that we should constantly keep in mind and work for to improve and to improve the culture of the team, or the business, or to play a role in any community that you're particularly in. Again,
and I think it's any role. So any role that you have, if you're playing a role, you have to play that role to the best of your ability, not to just think I'm playing a role and it's okay because this guy will do it, or that lady will do it, or this girl will do it, or that guy. Like, if you think like that, you're hurting the team, and that's where it becomes that's where I guess accountability to your team and to your teammates is huge.
True, I agree. And if I look back, I can immediately sense that or I can immediately recollect the things where I have been like that in most of the games. Even in cricket games, right? I haven't been with that. I haven't played with that mindset for long. I played passionately for certain teams, but when it comes to, or when I change the places, or when I switch teams, it hasn't been the same. But I think it's a lesson for me that I need to go with this mindset, no matter, what I'm doing or where I'm going and whom I'm playing for, right? I need to go there with the mindset and give my best, and, work with others to give their best, for my culture. I think I need to start doing that in more of, my cricketing career as well, which hasn't been great lately, by the way. But yeah, so... thanks for that, and I also want to ask you another thing, right? For example, the exam, you were referring to Maxwell and Aaron Finch. They know that they are the best, and if they, I agree that if they probably listen to someone else, they obviously want Maxwell to be to be able to defend as well, and he knows that he whenever needed, right? Sehwag, they just can't play for the team. I mean, they play for the team, but they cannot. You cannot just go and ask them to defend or to change the nature of the game, which again is it doesn't work that way. But when you are having an off season, right? If you're not going, if you're not able to score, or if you're having bad streak of games. So I think, you'll probably start questioning yourself, right? Or, am I no good, or do I really need to change my strategy, or, how do I continue to, still build on my strength, and how do I work for that particular strength, or how do I still believe in myself?
Yeah, and I think that comes back to what you're looking at. If you look at the results and you only look at the results, then you're in trouble. And that's where your training and your practice, they're the most important. That's why the best players in the world are usually, when you speak to people, the best trainers in the world, because they train, and that even when they make 100, they get back in the nets and they're still working. Even when they make 5 ducks in a row, they're back in the nets and they're still working. And yes, there's a lot of mental courage that comes with that, to be able to stay, to be able to analyze what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, make the correct adjustments. But what I think what happens is people make 3 ducks in a row, then they walk out thinking they're going to make the 4th. Whereas the best players in the world have the attitude, if I've made 3 ducks in a row and I average 50, that means that I'm due to make 200 today. Like, their mindset just works in a different way that is always in a positive, that is usually in a positive manner. Some people use negativity, which is great, but the ones I've worked with and that I see use positivity as a way. So, okay, law of averages, if I average 50, I've made 3 ducks in a row, I must make 200. Like, this is the way that they think, and they work, but they also don't concern themselves with the result as much. They stick to the process of, I know what I need to do. If you need to bat through a day, you need to get through your first ball. You need to get off the mark. You need to get the drinks. You need to get to lunch. Then you start again. Then you get off the mark, and then you get through your first over, and then you get to drinks, and then you get to tea. It's a continual tick box to make sure that you're doing the right things from a process point of view, rather than walking out thinking that I'm going to make 100 today, or I'm going to take 5 for today. The people that worry about the result, especially if you're a bowler, because a bowler actually realistically a lot of the time once he lets the ball go, he can't do anything else. So it's the results don't actually. You've got to stay to the process. Like, you've got to build pressure and you've got to put the ball in the right place to take wickets, but you can't nick the ball as a bowler. You can't nick it or miss it. You have to play the game, and I think there's so many people get so wound up in the result that they miss the process. And when the process isn't going right, it's the same thing in business. If you want to make a lot of money, you can't just say, I want to make a lot of money and it happened. You need to start building step by step by step and continue to build step by step by step. And that's where the business and the sport world have a lot of correlation.
Yeah, so I think that still again falls back to the mindset. But again, the other point here is, what is the process that you have in place? Even if you're not doing well, you're still following the process, and trust on the process that you will do a lot better. You will make up for all these ducks, or you make up for all these losses one day, right? So I think that is still the mindset. But building the process that trains you the same way every day, I think is also the key here, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's that point that whether I make 100 or I make a duck, that I still follow the same process. I'm still working on my game. I'm still trying to get better. I'm still training the way that I want to train, because that's the key. So that the key to being good isn't actually the result. It isn't, because some days you walk out and the guy bowls an amazing ball and you just happen to nick it and you've done nothing wrong and you're out. Some days you might get run out. You might get the result doesn't matter. It's the process of how you get to that result.
Sure. Yeah. I'll take it. Wow. Such a great insight again. Thanks, Adam. So, I also want to take a little bit of step back and ask you these questions, right? For example, you see a lot of being cricket played in US lately, and not every it's not always a professional cricket. I play for fun, but I also want to play the sport of cricket, right? And there are so many people like me in US and even in India, like all over the world, that even if we are not playing professional, we go with such a passion that, hey, I need to do better today and want to win the game or learn something new, right? But I think based on what I've seen, I'll just take my example. Right? I won't speak for everyone else, but I'm sure this is a scenario for most of the people. When we go to practice, right? I think I go with the mind. I just don't have a, set up a plan that, hey, I need to practice, this one, that one or something. I think I just go practice and come back. I go again, and do the same thing again. But here, if I look back, right, I don't think I've been very tactful on what I need to work on. I don't think I have built the process of, hey, this is what I'm going to do today because, I'm not getting my line or length right. This is how I need to work on. So how, or how important is it to have a focused practice versus, just going there and playing for fun or things like that? So particularly if I want to improve my game, as a professional elite, non-professional cricketer, or just for everyday cricket, right? Like, but what are your recommendations as a coach for me?
Yeah, look, I think one thing that preparation takes no skill, and I think that's the bit, like, it takes an understanding, a want to prepare, because as you say, sometimes, and we all do it, and you just roll into cricket training and you get your shoes on and you bowl and you bat and you get to the end and you go, I've done nothing. Whereas it doesn't take much you sit in your car for 5 minutes when you get to training. I've got a notepad that sits in my cricket bag that I write notes in. Where is it? It's just here somewhere. I can get it for you. This is my notepad, my cricket notepad, that's sitting in propping up my computer at the moment. But it's that notepad is what I use to write down how I'm feeling, how I'm going, what I'm working on, what I need to work on, what I'm doing well, what I'm doing wrong. Yeah. Nobody else sees it. Like my wife could pick that notebook up, and she wouldn't know what it means. Nobody would know what it means except me. And it's actually taking the time to write down goals. I'm a big goal setter before a season. Tick them off, and if you're a long way from them or they're too easy, realign your goals. And I think that it's that goal setting. It's that, hey, sit down and prepare. I'm going to work today on my outswinger. All I'm going to do today is hit a line and length. All I'm going to do today is bowl. I want to work on my slower ball. I want to work on my cover drop. Whatever it is, you've got to go to training with a purpose. If you don't go to training with a purpose, you may as well not train, because all you're doing is running around and you're not actually improving, and you're probably doing more damage to your cricket rather than helping. So planning takes no skill. Ricky Ponting was the best player, but he planned everything. But that doesn't mean that you can't prepare as well as Ricky Ponting did. Sure, you're not going to bat the nets for as long because you don't have the time, but sitting there preparing for what you want to get good at takes zero skill. And speaking to your captain, speaking to your senior players, speaking to your teammates about, hey, and I think these are the hard conversations to have with your teammates and with your coaching staff, is asking those people, putting yourself out there, what do I need to do to improve? What do I do well? What do I do bad? If you don't know yourself, what you do well and what you don't, then you've got an issue as well. So asking your teammates what they think. Like if you're a batsman, ask the bowler how they think they're going to get you out. If you're a bowler, ask the batsman, what are you waiting for? What are you looking at? And I think that we don't do that enough in cricket. We don't speak about the good and the bad about our teammates and with them, but with the idea that I'm trying to help. Sometimes we jokingly in a cricket team will always give the negative, but it's in a joking, jovial, funny way. But those conversations also need to happen seriously and for good reason. And I think when you get a culture and a group that can do that, then you have a team that has success. That the best teams I've ever played in are the ones that were ruthlessly honest with each other, but also cared about each other. Like I could walk up to someone and say, I don't think you're playing well. I think you're being selfish. I think you're not hitting the ball over mid-on very well. And then giving them, but then also being there to help them and work with them. It's not throwaway comment after throwaway comment. So planning with a purpose is key, because if you don't, you may as well, you're probably hurting.
Yeah, I think I can totally see why that is the case and why it hurts the cricket, because it's also, not a lot of waste of time for ourselves and for the team as well, right? Because if you go without a purpose and if you train, you're also probably taking someone else's time, or probably not, giving your best or bowling your best to, cricketers who want to, who came with a purpose, right? But here I think it's also the process of practice and process that you need to put in place. Hey, what is the purpose? And I like your strategy of goals, right? So, setting some goals before the season and make sure you tick those off, and go with the purpose to nets, and starting, speaking to the people, or, finding a way to get, good guidance or resources. I think, all these will definitely play a role. So I'll take these with me, and hopefully for the rest of the season I'll see how that goes for me. Thanks again, Adam. So I know we are at time. Do you have a few more minutes to talk, or like how is the schedule like?
I have a few more minutes.
Perfect.
I do.
So also since we are talking about the process, skill and the mindset, so what are all the factors that can make that. So that makes one, a good cricket player or the best cricket player, right? Mindset, strategy, or the fitness obviously plays a key role. So if I want to, focus on, top 3 or, 4 of these things, so what are your recommendations on it?
Look, my recommendation is everything. It's find what you're not good at and improve that. Find what you are good at and keep improving that. I think it's that cricket should, in my opinion, cricket's a never-ending continuum. Sometimes, most of the time, we go, okay, it's one season and then we start again. It's one season and we start again. It should be, I'm getting better. I'm 37 years old and I'm still trying to work on my forward defence. And I've been doing this for 20 years at an elite level, and until you stop playing, and that's when I know that I'll stop playing, is when I've stopped trying to get better. And I'm not going to play for Australia, but I'm just playing to play with my teammates, and I know that to be a good teammate, I need to work on my game. So it's finding that. It's finding out, hey, I need to be fitter. I need to be faster. I need to stretch more. I need to work on my defence. I need to work on my attack. I need to work on my sink. Whatever it is, it just needs, that's where you sit down and you plan. You write in your book, you put your goals for the year. Sure, sometimes if you're a little bit overweight, that exercise is something that you need to put extra time into. We all know this when we actually sit down and do it. And that's the thing about every individual. You'd know if you're critically looking at it yourself, you know where you're good and you know where you're bad. And then that's about being most people will only ever play cricket or improve the things that they're good at, rather than worrying about the things that they're not as good. They almost try and hide that. But the best players I've ever played with, they knew exactly where they were no good, and they would try and get better at it, but that they would never shy away from, I don't cut the ball very well. And that's actually one for me. I've never cut the ball very well. I don't particularly cover drive very well. I've made a lot of runs in my career, but I haven't hit a lot of balls through the offside. And that's worked for me because I've based my game around it. But I'm always continuing to try and figure out how to play a better cut shot. But
cool,
but it's just being honest with yourself.
So being honest and really being critical and critical yourself, just so that we really understand what we need to improve on. I think everyone in a way knows it, but not everyone or maybe we haven't built the process around how we take those into the action, and how do we improve over time. Right,
and that's a lot of time just having conversations with your senior people, and having conversations with your coach, and having conversations with people that know your game, and usually your teammates are the best.
I think because since we play with them, with the current team, right? Because particularly, they have seen you for in the past 3 months, and they're like, okay, this is what you are good at, and this is not what you are good at. But particularly, which also conveys our current form, right? Because if I played cover drive, before 5 years very well, and if I'm not doing it now, I cannot just still go with the assumption that I'm the best. I'm very good at cover drive because I just lost it, and I again need to work on, right? Cool. So, and I also want to deviate here a little bit and ask about the age factor here. For example, if you look at many minor league players here, they're like late 20s, early 30s and all. So, and I know a couple of people who are even though late, if they still want to go all in and give it a shot, we don't know what whether that's even possible, be it to the national cricket team or in US or maybe some first class cricket in somewhere else, in India or somewhere, just wherever it is, right? So because typically, right, if you're I think the best time to get into the team is if you're early, like yourself, right, like 17s or early 20s. But if you're but can people still go and try now, or like because if you're spending so much time on the professional cricket, you're also losing out on some of the best opportunities out there. Maybe working in a company, or losing, maybe working, missing a promo in a company, or there's so many other things that we might miss on. So what do you think is the best age, or what's your recommendation for such passionate people?
Yeah, my recommendation is to do what you're passionate about. If you still want to play cricket at the highest level you can, I don't think that's for me or for you to tell them not to. Definitely as an individual, you have to weigh up, hey, what's going on? Like, do I think I'm going to play Test cricket for Australia? Probably not. But am I still training? And if the phone rang tomorrow, would I be ready? Probably. But I think you need to make decisions in your life that works with what you're wanting to do. So I don't like putting age brackets on things, because I think sometimes, in my case, I think I was picked too early. Other times I think we've got rid of players just because they're a bit older. And there's in Australia, we have a bad systemic issue about that. All we want to do is pick the young player. Even when this player has put 10, 15 years into becoming a really good player, they might become a really good player at 30. What happens? But you are right, from a situation you need to weigh up, and I think every individual has to weigh that up at what stage and what time for them and their life.
No, makes sense. I mean, there is no generic answer, because, for example, if you look at Praveen Tambe, he got into IPL team, in late 30s. So there is no way. But I think one other thing, if I can think of, right, maybe, here setting the purpose and process. For example, okay, if you're in mid-20s or late 20s, okay, maybe, can you play to the national side of, in US, or maybe in just Seattle, or what is I think setting up a goal, the realistic goal, and maybe working towards is the way to go about it, right? Because even if it's not possible, but if you just think that's a possibility, I think that's where you can just set a goal.
And we've got to remember as well, this is a game, and this is a game that we all love and we all enjoy. And like, I don't think that there should come a time where you necessarily say, I'm not going to play anymore. Like, if that was the case, like, I'm 37 and I still love playing the game. Full well knowing that I'll never play for Australia. But that doesn't stop me enjoying the game, enjoying my weekend. And I think becoming a coach is showing me that it's like, hey, it's not up for anybody to tell you as an individual you can't do something. And you're well within your rights to chase any dream that you want. As you said, there's many stories of people in their late 30s and their 40s going out and playing international cricket. Or IPL or the big bash.
All the time,
happens all the time. But if the number ones, if you just want to get to the Microsoft Greens first 11 team and that's your goal, that's your goal, and that's what makes you happy, and that's what cricket does. And I think that's what's really
exactly. Cool. And maybe setting some incremental goals, maybe to maybe minor league team or maybe some other teams around us. And working for it. But yeah, I think this is where the lot of passion and enjoying the game and all this history comes up, right? Our love and hate relationship with cricket. So I think it's up to the individual, but yeah, just want to understand your thought process here. But when it comes to kids, right? Okay, we spoke about mid-20s or like mid-30s, and that's for that's a different sort of perspective. But when it comes to kids, for example, there are many people in US who train kids in the early stage. So so what do you think is the right age for kids to get started with cricket? And what is that parents should keep in mind, about training the kids and mentoring and guiding them in the process of becoming a professional cricketer. What are a few things that people need to keep in mind, particularly parents?
It's sort of exactly, it continues on from what I was saying in regards to what age should we stop. It's what age should you stop. We just need to get these people to love, like these kids to love the game and to play the game. You don't want to technically hinder everything. You don't want to make it put your foot here and put your elbow up and do this, especially at a young age, probably sort of just a young, anywhere between 6 and 12. You just want them hitting the ball, bowling the ball, having fun. Later in that 12, 13, 14-year-olds, you can start to get a little bit more technical, but at the same time, you don't want to. Every cricketer has a natural instinct of the way they want to play. Every player, every person hits the ball a different way. You want to make sure that instinctively we keep that in them. Too many coaches try and coach that out of players. If someone bowls a bit different or they do whatever, they try and coach it out of them. Now, I'm not sure that that's a great thing, but my advice for parents and for young kids is to let them enjoy the game, let them hit the ball, let them feel what it's like to hit one over mid-wicket. I know that when I was growing up that I was never allowed to hit one over mid-wicket because you had to play in the V.
Yep.
But that would be that's my advice, is just enjoy the game. The technique can come later. If you love the game and you enjoy the game, then it's a much easier game to
makes
play.
sense. So it's not about setting the rules or setting targets for kids. Finding a way to or helping them a way to get help getting them to love the game and be passionate about it, and everything will fall together from the standpoint.
There's nothing better than watching a 10-year-old hit the stumps for the first time. Or there's nothing better than watching a 9-year-old girl hit a 4 for the first time. That to me is some of the best parts about cricket, and we all have that feeling of when we've hit a boundary or we've bowled our first person, and that's just about, especially in America and especially with some of the young kids that don't have it around everywhere. I think it's really important that these kids just try the game, they enjoy the game, they have fun playing the game, and that's all we can really hope for.
That's good. That's a good suggestion for parents and how we look at the game as well. It's not about what you want to achieve or something. Are you really enjoying the game, or are you really passionate about it? Playing it every weekend or whenever you get a chance, right? Cool. Thanks for that. So we spoke about some of the taking some of cricket skills into life and all that stuff, right? So I think the professional. Balancing the professional cricket with the side works or the side jobs, just to, income or, maybe having a side business to make sure, for whatever the reason it is, right? So what are the lessons in your life that you have taken from cricket and, applying to your business, right? I know you have your own startup, and by the way, congrats on that. And how did you manage? I know you worked as a sales representative. I'm not sure whether that's the correct title, but I know you were in sales and then worked for multiple companies, and started your own company. So how, while you're playing professional cricket, how do you balance these two things? For example, I know most of the people who play and still have a job, which is which is taxing, and also toxic sometimes. So how do you balance all these out, and what are the lessons that you take from cricket, and how do you apply there, and what is that you have done to balance this out?
Yeah, look, I think that I've been very lucky to start up a marketing company sort of whilst still being involved in cricket. I must admit that my wife is the brains behind most of it, but there's a lot of things in cricket that I've learnt that has actually helped me in the business world and with setting up a team and setting up a group for in the business world. There's a lot of things that are very similar in regards to how people feel, how are people mentally tough? Are people upset at home, and is that affecting their work life? There's a lot of things that you see within cricket that is very relatable within business. So I think when I first started the business, I tried to steer away from my cricket mentality. But now I've come back around full circle and understanding that there's a lot of things that I've learned through cricket and dealing with people that is really beneficial within the company and within what we're doing, which is helping other businesses with their marketing and with their needs, which is a great business that we love because we're here helping other people doing a business that they love. So it's a bit of a win-win from our side. So we love it, and the balance with cricket is just about like any balance in life. Like if you've got too much of one thing, other things are affected and they hurt. So finding that balance in life is huge, and making sure you've got enough time with family. I've got a brand new baby daughter, and make sure that I've still got time for her, and I'm not spending my whole life at cricket or in front of a computer working. So there's that balance of making sure that you get it. Because again, just like if we're all honest with ourselves with our cricket, we're all honest with ourselves when we know we're working too much, or we know that we're not working enough. Like there's both ways, and if we sit down and we're honest with ourselves, we know. Yeah, you know where you are.
Whether we are spending more time than we should in particular area, or maybe we are not spending in particular area. I think again it goes back to being honest and being realistic about ourselves, which also which is what happened. I mean, which is what we should do in game of cricket as well, right? And just curious to know a little bit about your marketing the company, right? So what do you guys do? And it's good that you are following the cricket strategy of building a team of passionate people, and then helping them, making sure that they understand the role, they making sure that they are the team and they should win as a team, and particularly when helping other clients, now they are part of team, now we are part of their team, and we all should win as a team. I think that's one of the strategy that any probably anyone would take, and particularly business in the consulting world, right? So what do you guys do, and how are you using that strategy to help other clients?
Yeah, so we're a full scale marketing agency. I think the best way to put it is I guess my sales pitch is don't hire a marketer, hire an agency. It's one of the things that we go around, and I guess my job is to try and find the best people, just like I have in cricket teams. I want the best people in a cricket team. I need an off spinner, I need a leg spinner, I need a fast bowler, I need a graphic designer, I need a marketer. Yeah. So what we do is we build teams, and that's what I'm really passionate about. We build teams that can help businesses, that can help in that one part of the business, which is to really show off. And one of our girls talks about it, that we write the storybook for your business, and that's what we do. We make it look amazing, and we showcase it to the world about how amazing your business is, and that's what we do, and that's what those guys are really good at. Now, I'm not very good at it. I'm not a great marketer. I'm no good on Photoshop or on Canva, so I stay away from it. But the team that we build are very good at that. So it's just balancing that, and that's a lot of the stuff that I've learnt in cricket. You need diversity, you need diverse people, you need male and female and old and young, and from the left side of the world to the right side of the world, the north and the south. Like it's you need that diversity in your business, just like you need it in your cricket team. So that's sort of the lessons that we've learned, and that we drive within a business world as just as like I do in the cricket world.
Yeah,
so
that's a really great way to look at it, right? Understand, who are the people that you need, and find a way to hire the best, so that they do the best job for other clients and customers, and it's a win-win for everyone, like you said, right? That's great, and I wish you all the very best with your startup, and I hope you get more and more clients, and just want to.
Thank you, mate. So do I.
Sure. So I just want to take a little bit step back here, and I know just want to understand. I think we are at time, and I'll try to wrap up. Last these things in next few minutes.
Perfect. Thank
you. if you go back and look at your younger self, right? What is one thing that you would advise? What would you advise to your younger self?
Yeah, the advice to my younger self would really be to not listen to the negativity, is to just focus on what you're doing, focus on getting better. I think as a probably early 20s, I was nervous about what people thought. I was nervous about where I was in life and how I was going. If I could tell the 21-year-old me, it would just be relax, keep getting better, and just concentrate on yourself. And I think that if I did that, not sure where my career would have ended up or where life ended up. Look, I don't think I've ended up in a bad position, but I think going back would have served me a lot better and my mental health a lot better. That if I just relaxed, enjoyed the game, enjoyed life, I think I let the game dictate my life for a few years there, whereas now I understand that it's a game and it's a process. Like the stuff I said today on this podcast is not because I've been like that for my whole life. I've been the total opposite a lot of the time in my career, and that's why I think my coaching helps a lot of kids, because I've made all the mistakes that these young athletes are making, and I've felt the way that they're feeling, and but then I've also come out the other side of it. So that's a lot of where my philosophies in cricket come from. And watching, I watch players and careers and people that I've been involved with, and I watch the way they go about it, and I'm very detail oriented when in regards to that. So understanding and feeling that is probably the thing that I'd tell my younger self, is just relax and just keep getting better.
I think that can be applicable in various aspects of life. But I hope many people who listens to this podcast understands it and takes it really seriously, so that they focus on what they really need to focus on, right? Okay, so one last question. And then we move on to a rapid fire round. So can you help us learn something in 2 minutes? That took so long for you to learn. I know you already say some of the lessons, but just can you sum it up or wrap it up in 2 minutes?
I think
anything in life in general.
Look, I think I've spoken enough about mindset and about relax and just keep getting better. But I think if we take this back from a cricket podcast, I think one of the things that took me so long in regards to my batting was I was so worried about where my bat was, where my feet were, where my hands were, when I think everything about batting, the more I get into it, all comes down to balance. If you can keep your head on top of your body and be balanced, batting becomes 50 times easier. Too many people have, if we talk about our batting stance, we have our feet pointed towards point, correct? And every single cricketer in the world follows the angle of their feet. So we point our feet to point, everybody falls over to point. If we can balance ourselves and get our head on top of our body and point our foot towards the bowler, batting becomes a lot easier. So I think that was less than 2 minutes, but it's a thing that I see with every young cricketer, is that we all overbalance towards the offside because our feet are pointing towards the offside. Sure.
So that way, we gain more balance, and we gain control over the bat and do really well. So thanks for that.
One of the biggest advantages people in the US have, which is what I've found and what I've looked at over the last 3 months being based out of the US, is baseball. And the balance and the way that baseballers hit the ball is unbelievably good. So the balance they have, and all they work on is the swing. It's the same with the golfer, their balance and their swing. Cricketers is a balance and a swing game, but we hardly work on it, and that's an issue that I think needs to happen.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm sure many people, would probably, who listens to this, would question, where they're at and hope to, really focus on it more and pay more attention to it, I guess. Cool. So now, to last a few questions, which are rapid fire questions, so we don't have to spend like another half an hour here. Even though I would like to, I have to be cautious of your time. So, okay, are you ready for it? Cool. So,
I'm good.
Who is I start with the basic one. Who's your favorite cricketer? And who's your favorite Indian cricketer? So, what is your favorite cricket innings by a non-Aussie?
By a non-Aussie. I watched Graham Smith make 200 against England one day. I think I took the day off school, or I was sick, and I watched it on TV, and I saw him make 200. I'm not sure what ground it was, but it was in a series, and I think he made back-to-back 200s. But I remember watching it thinking, this guy has just figured out cricket. And I would have only been in my early 20s, nice. I think.
Just to let you know, one of the favorite cricket innings that I watched in person is yours. When you played before a few weeks, for so many reasons. But yeah, I will just move on with this. So yeah, who is your favorite celebrity crush?
Celebrity crush. This is going back, but Charlize Theron. My wife's in the other room. She probably heard that.
Theron. I don't know, but yeah, I'll look up her. Cool. So,
the Italian Job. Look the movie up. She's great.
I'll do a quick search, but yeah. So, who would you pick to bat and bowl for your life? I think, and again, this is probably a Victorian-based thing, but I think to bat for my life would be Brad Hodge, one of my favourite cricketers of all time, and to bowl for my life would have been Shane Warne. And what's your favourite non-cricket thing to do?
I'm a basketball tragic, actually. So yeah, I'm a big basketball fan, so when I'm not watching and looking at cricket, I'm probably following ESPN and all the trade rumours that happen in the basketball world.
I think those are 5 questions, and again, thanks a lot for being open and sharing all your knowledge, Adam. We'll wrap it up here. I'm sure we can do 10 more episodes, if we get into the weeds and details of it. But yeah, thanks a lot. And such an eye-opening episode for me, and I hope it will be the same for many of many people around the world. So we'll stop here, and hopefully we'll do one more episode soon if we see the need for it. Cool. Thanks, and thanks again. Perfect. And sorry to take some more time out of your busy schedule. Sorry. Cool. We'll talk. Thanks, Adam. Yep.
Thank you, mate.